Welcome back, design students. In this video, we're going to create the D-ring that attaches the lightsaber to your belt. So I played around with a couple of different ways to make these things. As you can see, if we look at this, they're kind of circular, and then they're bent really sharply on one side. Some of them are triangular, but they have curved points, and they're very difficult to make in Maya. They are not difficult to make at all in 3D Max. Maya deals with curves very differently, and maybe it's just my lack of understanding, but I just don't get it. I could make something like this in 30 seconds in 3D Max, but in Maya it's much more convoluted. So if you recall, what we did when we made the piping on the chair is that we extruded a cylinder along a path, and we created a path like this. And you could do that, but getting these smooth curves on the path is very difficult. So I think what the best thing to do is to create it out of a cube, and it's not that hard, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. This will create a triangular D-ring, but you can play with the shape doing this by differing how you chamfer it. So I'm going to go ahead and scale this cube out only in the X and Z axes. Pull it down a little bit in the Y. And I'm going to switch to vertex mode, and we're going to grab this vertex and shift right click, merge vertices to center. Then we're going to do the same thing for the bottom ones. And now we have a triangle. Now we can chamfer these triangular edges. So switch to edge mode, select the corner edges. So select the corner edges and bevel them, and this will give you your basic D-ring shape. Now how much you choose to bevel it will determine how much of a D-ring it is. You could also just bevel, say, this top edge to get, like a true D-ring. And then maybe you could extrude that down or something. So anyway, bevel your edges however you want. And then what we're going to do is switch to face mode, grab these top and bottom face, get the scale tool, and scale them in only in the X and Z axis when holding down Shift. And then we're going to have to switch to the top view because we got to reshape it a little bit. Because if you notice, the bottom is thicker than the top. So what we need to do is switch to vertex mode, grab these vertices, and move them down a little bit. Just to even that out. Now this corner appears to be a little thicker than the top, so I'm going to move that in. I'm going to move that in. Trying to get this sort of uniform. And the reason I'm in the top view is so that when I do this, I'm selecting the top and the bottom vertices. So let's go back to the perspective view. Grab these bottom vertices only and move them up. And this is going to determine the diameter, so I'm trying to decide how thick I want it to be. And then I'm going to switch to edge mode and get the insert edge loop tool and put an edge loop right in the middle there. Then I'm going to get the scale tool and double click on that edge and scale it out only in the X and Z axes. So scale it out in all axes. Scale it out in all axes. Then we're going to switch to face mode and grab these two faces and scale them in the Y axis a little bit. So that puts them closer together, and then we're going to delete them. Now we need to merge these two edges, these two edge loops. So we're going to switch to edge mode, double click on that edge loop, double click on the other edge loop, shift right click, and merge border edges. And then you get a tolerance. So you need to dial that up until they merge. Once they merge, you're done. Now we can smooth this. So switch to object mode and hit 3 on the keyboard. And there's your D-ring. It's not perfect, but it's all right. So then, of course, we would center the pivot and move this into place. Now, once I get this into place, somewhat, I'm going to have to change the position of the pivot, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So if this were attached here and it was sitting on the ground, the end of this would be sitting right here. And if I rotate it now, see, it's difficult to place. So I'm going to hold down D on my keyboard and move the pivot back to the edge, back to the end here, so that I can just put it down on the lightsaber. And so there you go. There's your D-ring. I think that's the simplest and quickest and easiest way to make it. And we are now done with the modeling portion of the lightsaber. In the next video, we'll put materials on it, and I'll see you then.